All right, so I was working on one of my Excel Esports speedruns, and it was just coming out too slow. This is the Mahjong. I'm watching myself here, right? This is the Mahjong Solitaire case. It's one of the semifinals, and I've got I think the solution makes sense, and I thought it would be relatively doable, but I don't know. It just turns out to be too slow keeping track of all this stuff, and ends up being 31 minutes, and it's only time limit's only 30 minutes. So 31's not fast. 31's not fast enough. So I watched our champion Dim Early's video, and I saw him using OA Robot to make a lambda, and I was like, oh, I should probably learn how to do that. So I went to OA Robot and download. I'm just on the standard plan for now. I downloaded the thing, and then you go into this thing here, and this thing does a lot of things. It's not like generative AI. I think it could connect to AI. Well, that's not what I'm doing with it. But here, what I'm doing is this Lambda robot part here. So like to set this up, right, you have to download a part of it, right? So what, Control Shift O to bring up robot, and then like plus, and you can enter, like here's this Lambda robot setup code, right? So you got to put the setup code, and that'll download the part of it that I'm using, right? And then, it helps write lambdas for you, right? So let's say I wanted to count substring lambda, right? So I've got a string like hello, and a substring, let's say the letter L, and I want to know how many L's are there in hello, right? So let's say I did a short string where I substituted this for, substituted L for nothing in that, right? And then the count substring is the length of the big one minus the length of the small one. That tells me, how many L's were in the original thing. But let's say I want to use this over and over again. Well, I do Control Shift O and then SLA, right? Save lambda as to get this. And then I get this nice little window where it writes the lambda for me. And because I did save as, it's going to let me save as, right? So I'm going to call it count substring like that. And now I can just use it wherever, right? So if I want to count substring, like let's say count substring on that, if I wanted to look for M, right? That's 4 M's, right? 2 in command and 2 in recommend. So this lets you write lambdas quickly. So let's see, I'll append my with robot and without robot speedruns, and you can compare them. Thanks for watching. Bye. All right, here is my robot-enabled speedrun of Mahjong Solitaire Excel Esports case. So to start this, I'm going to make a couple little changes to this table. I need to know the numeral, and I need a friendly code. So for the numeral, I'm just going to look up the name I have now pre-prepared in my template, these English words, in case we ever need them again. I don't care if there's NAs, codes, just going to be the code except for the seasons and the flowers, because the season and the flowers, they all match with each other. So I'm going to call them 999, 999, 999. And 888, so that way my formulas know they match with each other. All right, so now the sum of XLOOKUP of these on the tile names returning the numerals. Next one is just the sum of the Unicode values, actually a little easier of these. All right, now we're going to make a lambda. So here I've got to know a few things. I got to know what the tiles are. I want to know what the codes are. I want to know what code is on the left. I want to know what code is on the right. I want to know if there's an open tiles. I want to know what the frequency of those tiles are, and then that's enough to build my output, I think. All right, So the tiles just here in this case. The codes are the friendly codes with the flowers and seasons handled that I made here. I actually don't need flowers and seasons on this level, but I know I need it on the next level, so might as well handle it now. This is just shift array, just moves the array over to the left by 1, filling in with a 0 where there's now space, and this is the same thing but to the opposite direction. So a tile is open if this is 0, so if your left neighbor is 0, or if your right neighbor is 0, then you're open, in which case we need the tile, right? So in that case, give me the tile code, otherwise just give me a 0. So now frequency is xCOUNTIF of this on itself. xCOUNTIF is just like built-in COUNTIF, but works with arrays. And now my output is if you are an open tile, or if you're not an open tile, then give me your original thing. If you are otherwise, right, if your frequency is greater than or equal to 2, you match, and you can be a 0 now. Otherwise, you give me your original code, right? And hopefully now I got to set this as the input to my lambda, because otherwise it's going to go all the way back to the case sheet, which I don't want. Save lambda as, and I will call this remove tiles. And now I need to run it over and over and over again. So the way I'm going to do that is with reduce, which is, you know, kind of like a little loop with sequence, I don't know, 50. That's way more. That's way too much, but it's fine. And then lambda, the accelerator, the accumulator, and iteration, which I won't use, and then it's just simply remove tiles of the accumulator. Close that, and that's the final output, right? So now the answer is, and I'm doing this, I got to convert it back to the original Unicode so my flowers and seasons don't get messed up. So it's a sine of that times the Unicode of the original tiles. And then, of course, sum that up. And that should be level 3 to start with, but it's also level 4, because like I said, I already handled the flowers and the seasons. And level 5 is just a little, it's not much more complicated than that. 5 and 6 also are going to use the same lambda. So now that I have the lambda, I feel like I'm in good shape, right? So what I do care about the tiles here. So I'm going to make 2 rows of tiles. And then this, I'm going to VStack XLOOKUP of the top row, right, on my tiles, returning my codes. And then VStack that with the bottom row, right? So this way I get rid of that little space that's in between them. F59, H59, is that right? I think that's right. And then, so this is just the final output, right? Is all I need is based on this, right? And then this is the same thing, but based on that array. And the tile has to be correct, has to be this whole tile thing right there. All right, there's level 5. Level 6 is similar. It's actually a little easier because I don't have that space in the way, right? I can do, but I gotta make more room though. Didn't make enough room. So now the tiles are not wrap columns, but wrap rows of all of this with 12 columns per row. That is no longer necessary. This is now much simpler, right? It's just a single lookup to get the codes. Final output is there. Just gotta make sure I'm pointing to the right cells times the Unicode of this. There's level 6. All right, 780 points so far. I'm going to do bonuses before 7 because they're much easier, right? So one tile never appears. What? Control-Shift-N to highlight all my games. And frequency table. Now I got the frequencies, so let's look up the tile. That's what I have, right? On here, returning the frequency. The one that's missing, I can see, is this red dragon. Asking for the Unicode. Tile that's the most frequency is right there, 127. This is just looking up the names of them, right? So this, I'm going to look up this whole array on the tiles, returning the names, and then the, concat left of this to get the first character, not too fast. How many tiles were removed in levels 3 to 5, right? So that is just count if this is a 0, but not equals like that. And that is 108 for the first level. And then I do the same thing here, count if that is 0, right? That's how COUNTIF works. 218 so far, so I put in 218 here, and then for this last one, COUNTIF that equals 0 is 0, like that. Apply to all of these, add all that up, and it is 306. And then finally, how many circles are there? Oh, I should clean out these so they don't cause any problems. I'm going to clean out the what if tables. Yeah. All right, back to the bonuses. How many circles are there total? Right? That's pretty easy for bonus 5. So XLOOKUP this on the tiles. I need the category and the numeral is all that I care about. So I need the frequency, the numeral, and the cat. Well, here, let me filter, use auto filter to get the circles. Right, and then that's the frequency and the numeral. So it's just some product of the numeral and the frequency. And that's how many circles there are, 4622. 4622. All right, 1030 points. Time for the big one. All right, so now it's going to be a little bit similar to, I need a new lambda. I can't use my other lambda before. I need to know the tiles. I need to know need lots of room for this. I need to know what the code is. I need to know if they're visible, meaning if they're on top or not. I need to know if they are open. Then I need to pick a strategy, right? Because if I have any groups of 3, I have to pick a strategy of either 1, 2, or 3. Which one do I pick? So that's my strategy number. I need to know the frequency of each one. I need a serial number in order to keep track of which one to prioritize. Once I have that, I can figure out which of the 3 I want to keep, and then that's enough to give me my output, right? And I also over here I'm going to need left and right, which I'll do in a second. All right, so first of all, wrap rows of this whole thing by 12. And, left and right's going to be pretty much the same as before, right? So I can steal it from my old code here. I need some more room, of course. So left, oh no, I got to do the quotes first, right? codes. I'll also steal from over here, right? Or the only thing that's changed is this. And now with left, right, left and right is based on this array. And this one's based on this array here. All right, now what's visible? All right, so VStack, I'm going to build an array of the first row. The first row is always visible, right? So I'm just going to take the sign of choose rows number 1, right? And then skipping for a second. Now the last 3 rows are never covered up either, right? So rows 4, 5, and 6 can just get placed in the way they are. But the others, I'm going to do minus not the sign of 5 and 6, right? Because we're going to use 5 and 6 to determine if 2 and 3 are open, right? So if anything on row 5 is open, then it's covered up on row 2. 6 is open, it's covered up row 3, which is what this will do, right? God willing, if the parentheses are right. I think there's probably an extra parentheses there. Too many arguments for sign. The sign of the choose rows of all this. Close the not. This sign never got closed. And then that sign never got closed. All right. VStack of this first stack is here. Second stack is 3 open and 2 closed. This is 1, 2 open and 2 closed. And then the whole thing gets closed. Yeah, there it is. All right. So the zeros are covered up. All right. So what is actually open here and what's not? So first of all, if you are covered up, so if that is 0, then you are not open. So give me a 0. Otherwise, it's the same as before, right? So this equals 0 plus this equals 0, right? So if your left neighbor or your right neighbor is 0 and you're not covered up, then good, you're open. So give me your code. Otherwise, give me nothing because you're not open. Those are the open tiles. All right, so strategy 1, this is an input, right? Because I'm going to use that as an input to my lambda. This is also an input to my lambda. So by marking these as inputs, it knows to make them inputs. Now the frequency is x count if this on itself again. And then the serial number, right, is wrap rows sequence 72. This is just to help me keep track of which one of the, when I have 3 seasons matching, how do I know which one to keep, right? So that's what I'm going to do next, is 3 is to keep. So well, let's filter first, right? So filter to call of this. Is this what I want? No, actually what I want is the serial number. So filter the to call of that by to call of this equals 3. To call of this equals 3. All right, so those are the those are the cases where we have exactly 3 of these 888s. So now I'm going to keep based on my strategy. All right, so there's my strategy, and I'm keeping the first one for now. And then I also have to account for the possibility that there's no triple match, right? In which case, don't keep nothing. All right, now I'm ready for the output. So ifs the serial number equals the one we're supposed to keep, then give me your original code. If you are not open, so if that is 0, then also give me your original code. Otherwise, if your frequency is greater than or equal to 2, then you can be removed and give me 0. Otherwise, any otherwise, right? Give me your code because you can't be removed. Okay. Final output for strategy number 1 is now going to be something, right? So let's bring this over here. Based on, the original code table and strategy number 1. No luckies, huh? Nope, that's because I didn't create the lambda. Save lambda as. I forgot the cool part that the robot does. All right, that's it. Now this is remove tiles L7. All right, so now remove tiles L7. Ooh, that looks very nice. And I do the same thing. I lock this. How about I make this based on that, right? So now if I do it with strategy 2 and strategy 3, and then I do what? The sign of this times the Unicode of the original tiles locked, and then sum all that up. And God willing, those are my 3 strategies, and I'm picking the lowest one. So the minimum of this, this, and this. All right, 1250. Boom. Thanks for watching. Bye. All right, here is speedrun of Mahjong Solitaire, the Excel Esports case from the World Championship semifinal 2025. We're going to start by doing a little lookup on numerals, actually. We're going to look up the ordinal numbers in English, right, which are here. No, here is where the numbers are, and I have a little pre-prepared cardinal number, not ordinal number, if I said that wrong. So look up the cardinal numbers there. Keep this part locked. So now I should have the numbers. And then, so the sum of XLOOKUP of all this on the tile symbols, returning on the numerals, the extra parenthesis there. This is actually easier than that, right? This is just the sum of Unicode of each of these, right? So sum of Unicode works fine with the array. Then level 3, we're going to start playing Mahjong Solitaire. All right, so I need to know what the positions, what's on the left, what's on the right, the Unicode, and then the tile code. And then, yeah, if it's an open tile, it's probably about it. All right, so the positions are here. Then the left position, right? The first one has no left position, so it's just 0. But then the other ones, it just goes like that. The right one, the last one doesn't have a right one, right? But the other ones do, starting with 2, so that's the one on the right. I should do the tile symbol, right? Just here. The Unicode of the tile symbols is this. I I don't think I have to deal with in level 3 the seasons yet, but I'm gonna deal with the seasons anyway, just to make it easier on me later. The seasons and the what's the other? Flowers. Seasons and the flowers. All right, so those codes I'm just gonna use the Unicodes, but for flowers I'm gonna use 6 9s, and for seasons I'm gonna use 6 8s, 7 8s maybe. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But there's some numbers there that represent that the seasons and the flowers are in the same world. All right, so I look those up on tile symbols, returning on the tile code. All right, now I need to know what is the open tile, right? So it's the minimum of the left and the right. And I'll use 0, right, if it's not there. So first I'm going to look up the left position, right, which is always in H, on this thing, which is fully locked, right? And then returning, I want the tile code, but I want this to keep with me. I'm going to move it down, so I'm not going to lock the K, and I am going to lock the $58 to K $69, right? Returning on that, and if it's missing, return 0, right? So like if I do this, this is the tile on the left, and actually I want both the left and the right. So it is H58 and then $I58 also, right? So these are the two tiles on the left and right. I just take what the minimum of these is to see if one of them is 0, right? Because if that equals 0, then that means the tile is open. So I put the tile code, otherwise put nothing. Right? Oh, now I got 2 of those for some reason. If minimum X lookup, this, and then I do the minimum. That should cut it from 1 to 2, right? The minimum. That's weird. All right, so here I've got this. It just is 2. That's what I want. But now if I want the minimum of that, it should just give me 1 0, not 2, right? Yeah. So if that equals 0, then the tile code, otherwise nothing. So there is my open tiles. Now I'm going to clear out the tiles if they match, right? So if this range here, the 58 and 59 are locked, but the L is not. This, which is not locked at all, right? So if that count is greater than or equal to 2, then 0, otherwise carry over the tile. Right? And if there's no open tile, then carry open the tile also, right? So if this is nothing, then definitely carry over that tile, right? So there is that after these two are matched. So then hopefully this now I can just keep iterating on this. Eventually it's it stops making a match, so it stops. I'll just make, I don't know how many I need, but make sure I got enough. And then I got to see if each one is kept at the end. So that's what, just the sign of this will work. You can't do the sign of nothing. All right, so if this equals 0, then 0, otherwise 1. That will give me what I want. And then some product of the Unicode, right? Not my special codes, but the original Unicodes, times if they made it to the end or not. Should be good for level 3. And that also is, this is going to be the basis of all of our Mahjong games. In fact, I've already solved level 4, right? Because the flowers and the thing should work exactly the same. I've already prepared for the flowers and the seasons, right? So level 4 is correct also. Now level 5, I'm just adding more rows, right? Which is not super complicated. I Just got to figure out what the lefts and rights are, right? So this, instead of using 1 to 12 again, because that's not how I'm set up, I'm just going to do sequence 24, right? And then the left, so for this row down here, right, the nothing is on the left, but then the starting with 13 is on the left, and then on the right is 14 down to 24 with the 0 there, right? Now I got to extend this to, well, no, I can't extend it. I gotta make another one because it's got that space there. So Unicode of this now, right, but not that far. Not to BZ to AE. Tile codes is just the whole thing. Open value now, it's looking up those. These two lookups have got to be the same length, right? And then, I don't know, well, this is right, isn't it? No. Getting ref errors here. That's interesting. Oh, I can't use that pound anymore. I need it to go from 58 to 81. So 58 to $G $81. And this 58 also has to go to 81, but not locked. K81, like that. So open tiles, that's not right though. Because the 58 and the 81 need to be locked. For sure. There we go. Those are the real open tiles. And then I'm going to get rid of these. I got to make sure to check the whole thing here. And lock it. It's already locked, right? Yep. So now it's removing the correct tile. So everything else should happen automatically. Is that enough? Yeah, that's probably enough. So keep as if this is a 0, then 0, otherwise 1. And then the sum product of this Unicode here, all the way down to this, all the way down. All right, so hopefully that's level 5. Let's see. Yeah, that's level 5. All right, level 6 is just making the layout a little bit more complicated, right? So if this is my, instead of doing these manually like I did before, right? The ones that are on the left are start here, right? There's nothing on the left of those. And then the ones that are on the right, right? So this is the left. This is the right, because yeah, 2 is on the right of 1, and then these are all zeros or blanks, right? So now, if I want to get my position, first of all, now is sequence 48, right? And then starting at 25, right, to call of this is the left ones. To call of this is the right ones. Now, this, because there's no spacing, I can go all the way, right? So the tiles here go from G to BB. And then this is just the Unicode of the first one, right? With nothing else in the way. Then these I'm gonna make sure I redo this part so I don't get confused. All right, and then the tile code. All I should have to do is just bring it down. Everything else is all the code is the same, right? So that's the tile code. Ooh, no, I deleted one too many things because there's a lot of code here in this tile code. This tile code just has to go to the bottom. This is the initial tile code, which is not doing any removing yet. So now the open tile, the ones that end on 81 have got to go to 105. So my 81s go to 105. That may be it. Let's see. Yeah, those look like the open tiles to me. And then again, this 81 goes to 105. And this should remove the ones that are allowed to be removed, which looks like it does. This, though, I gotta go, at least as far as that thing goes, and a little bit farther. All the way out to here. It's probably, as long as I just need to make sure I get more than necessary. So if this is 0, then 0, otherwise 1, it'll handle any blanks. So now the sum product is, all this stuff and all of this stuff. Looks promising so far. Yes, all right. Now we get to the tricky part, but it's a little tricky. It's not that tricky. All right, so the level 7 layout then includes up to 72. All right, so this now is going to be sequence 72, and there is a new wrinkle here. Just going to keep the ones that have the amount of code that I need, which is this and this. This is a repeat already. So I'm going to clean this out for now. And I'm going to clean those out too. All right. So open tile and tile code, because I need above. All right, I need to know what's on top of it, in addition to what's to the left and right. All right, so the left and right of, this is 2 rows. I'm just going to do it on here, all right? So the ones that are on the left, all right, so on the left of 49 is nothing, but on the left of 50 is 49, all right? So this is my left, and then on the right is like, is this right? No, because this is 0, 0. There's nothing to the left in there. Okay. Now here, there is on the right is all this stuff, right? And then there's nothing to the right here. And then the above is just, we'll do that in a minute. Let's do left and right first. So the lefts are here. And then the rights are here. And the aboves, all right, so the only one that has anybody above it is 49 to 72, right? So first of all, if you're not 49 to 72, you're just going to have nothing above you. No, that's not right. The ones that have something above them are 13 to 36. So only 13 to 36 are going to have something above them. Everybody else is just going to be 0 above them. All right, and for these, it's just the ones that are on top, right? So it is these things here that are on top. They're the ones that have the ones above them. All right, so that should be my above. Yeah, I want the whole thing, please. All right, so tile code, so Unicode and open tile. I got to make sure I'm grabbing this whole thing. So this goes over to BZ. This one now goes down to the end, which is good. The end here is now 130 instead of 105. It's not the only change I'm going to need, but it's one change I'm going to need. All right. And this also is the same thing, goes down to 130. All right, so in addition, this checks for the left and right. In addition to the checking for the left and right, I got to check for the above first. So first of all, I'm going to XLOOKUP the above code, which is always in J, on the full position list locked totally. Full position list locked. All right, well, G50 $, G $58 to $G $129, right? And then returning on the latest tile codes, right, which are here. Oh, I do not like seeing these out of whack there like that. So yeah, looking up on there, which is allowed to change. It can't change up and down though, and that's going to be a problem here also. That's going to be a problem with both of these. All right, why is this wanting to go wild? This is 129 at the bottom. So that was a mistake there. So 129, 129. This is also 129, not 130. 129, not 130. Yeah, because those have got to stay the same or else this whole thing's going to get messed up. So now I'm checking for the above. So this one here, so, you know, if, well, yeah, it's going to be if XLOOKUP, looking up the above tile on the position list. That's got to stay totally locked, but that is here, like that. Returning on the latest tile list, right? Which is this, where the L is not locked, right? But the 58 and the 129 are locked. So if you look up that, and if it's missing 0, right? So if you look up that, it's equal to 0, right? Is that what I want? Or do I want if it's not equal to 0? So if the above tile is not equal to 0, then that means this tile is not open. So you just print nothing. Otherwise, you're allowed to print the rest of this. And that requires one more of those. So now that should do, yeah, like these, there would be open tiles here, but there's not because there's tiles on top of them, right? So that appears to be working correctly. This would be the same except for the strategy thing, right? Because now there's 3 possible ones we can pick, right? There's 3 8888 flowers. So how many of those am I going to pick? So there's 3 different strategies that are possible. You either keep the first position number, the second position number, the third position number, and then I'm going to do a 2-dimensional lookup table with the 2-dimensional data table, right, with the 3 strategies. So with strategy 1, here's what's going to happen. So let the matches, right, be filter open tiles, right? M is allowed to change, but 58 we're trying out. So filter the open tiles where the open tiles equals this tile, which is right there. So that is the matches, right? Those are the matching tiles here, but I don't actually want the tile numbers. I want the position numbers, because that's what I'm going to determine based on, because those I know are going to be unique. So $G. All right, so 1, 8, and 49 all match, right? So now I want to know the in matches, right? So if error rows of in matches and 0 if it's an error, because when a filter turns up nothing, it gives you an error instead of 0. So that's the in matches. So, and this is the match to keep. So if there are 3, which I'll handle later, the one I want to keep is index sort matches by the strategy. So I'll either keep the first one, second one, or third one based on my strategy after they're sorted, right? That's ending that, right? So now there's different possibilities for my output, right? So if in matches equals 0, right? If there's no matches, then this. If there's no tile at all, right, then this. If in matches equals 1, then also the tile still exists, right? If in matches equals 2, then the tile does not exist, right? Then we remove the tile and it's a 0. If there's 4, you can remove them both, right? So that is there. It's only so now the only possibility left is in matches equals 3. And in that case, if match to keep equals this position number, right, which is $G58, if that's true, then keep it. Otherwise, do not keep it. All right, that's the end of the let like that, right? Too few arguments for index. Index sort of matches. Yeah, that parentheses is out of place. So the first season gets kept because we're doing strategy 1. This one should not be kept. This one should be discarded because there's exactly 2 matches, right? So let me troubleshoot this real fast. So if the answer is this, then what's the answer? But don't tell me the answer. Tell me the in matches is 0. So, oh, that's not right. It's got to be that, right? Yeah, okay. So now the answer is 0, which is correct. All right, so now hopefully this is it. All right, this is an exact match, so it goes away. Under our strategy, 2 and 3 go away. If I had strategy 2 instead, now this one is going away. This one is not going away because it's the second one. And if I do strategy 3, then that one gets kept. All right, those are my strategies. And God willing, that should be it for this case, or this level at least. Bonuses aren't too hard. And then finally, keep as if this equals 0, then 0, otherwise 1. Sum product of the Unicode and whether it survived the whole game. And then the row input cell is the strategy, and the column input cell is the number. And then the minimum of these is the correct answer. Sometimes it takes it a second to calculate. Almost there. All right, there's level 7, all correct. One tile that never appeared. Well, let's look at all the tiles. Control Shift and make frequency table. And then, oh, did I get rid of the, yeah, I gotta get rid of that table or else it'll mess things up. One tile that never appeared, so equals XLOOKUP tile on tile name, returning the frequencies. All right, that one never appeared. Its Unicode is there. One tile that appeared the most often is 127 times. This is a secret message, which is what? Unicode of this. No, not Unicode of this. I need the names of this. So XLOOKUP this on here, returning the names, and then concat left. Not too fast. How many tiles were removed in levels 3 to 5? Well, it is the count of these that are 0, right? That's the many that were removed in level 3. So it is 108 so far. So 108 plus, COUNTIF. That is 0. 218 so far. And same thing here, COUNTIF. This is 0. Gives you 306. And the circles, how many circles across everything? This is, look up this on here. And I need the suit and the numeral, which are there. And I need these to be locked so it doesn't give me those NAs. And then here I need circles and the numbers, right? So sum product of the numbers and the frequencies. 4622, stop the clock. Thanks for watching. Bye.